Hey wonderful people, I'm Anish and welcome to Family Tales. Today's story is about a grown son telling his own father he's not as good as the wealthy stepdad who buys him better gifts, and ends with the dad calmly tearing up a $40,000 house down payment check right in front of them, leaving his son and daughter-in-law in absolute shock. Let's get into it. I am 58 male, have one son, 29. His mother and I divorced when he was 7 years old. She got primary custody, I got every other weekend, and alternating holidays. Standard stuff for the early 2000s, when courts pretty much defaulted to giving moms everything. I paid child support religiously for 11 years, never missed a payment, $1,400 a month, which was a significant chunk of my salary as an electrician back then. I drove a 12-year-old pickup truck so my kid could have what he needed. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment for years, so I could afford to take him to baseball games, buy him birthday presents, pay for half his school supplies, even though I wasn't legally required to. My ex-wife remarried when my son was 10. Her new husband was a financial advisor who made about 3 times what I did. Good for her. I mean that genuinely. I wanted my son to have a comfortable life, even if I wasn't the one providing the luxury part of it. But here's where things went sideways over the years. My son started comparing. He was a kid, so I understood at first. Stepdad got me a PlayStation for my birthday when I'd saved up for months to get him a nice bike. Stepdad's taking us to Hawaii when I was planning a camping trip at the state park. Stepdad's car is so much nicer than yours. Kids don't understand money. I got it. I didn't take it personally. I just kept showing up, kept being his dad, kept doing what I could with what I had. But here's the thing about patterns that start in childhood. They don't always stop when the kid becomes an adult. My son graduated college, which I contributed to, by the way, $23,000 over 4 years from my savings. Got a decent job in marketing. Met his now wife about 3 years ago. They got engaged last year, married 6 months ago. The wedding was interesting. His stepfather paid for most of it. Made sure everyone knew it too. Gave a toast that was basically a 15-minute speech about his own accomplishments and how he'd shaped my son into the man he is today. I sat at a table near the back, gave a brief toast about how proud I was, handed my son a card with a check for $5,000, my wedding gift to them. His stepfather gave them a 2-week honeymoon to Europe. My son hugged his stepfather first after opening that envelope. Made a whole speech thanking him. My card got a thanks dad and a side hug. I let it go. It was his wedding day. Not the time to make waves. But last Sunday was different. My son and his wife invited me to dinner at their rental apartment, said they wanted to discuss something important. I figured they were going to tell me they were expecting, maybe moving. Something like that. I'd been planning something for months. They'd been talking about buying a house but struggling to save for a down payment. I'd been putting money aside, cutting back on expenses, working overtime when I could get it. I'm not a rich man, but I'm not struggling either anymore. After 35 years as an electrician, I make decent money. And I had $40,000 saved specifically for this. I brought the check with me in my jacket pocket. $40,000. Written out and everything. I was going to surprise them. Help them get into their first home. Do something meaningful as their father. Dinner started fine. His wife made some kind of pasta thing. We talked about work, weather, normal stuff. Then my son brought up the important discussion. So Dad, we've been thinking about our future. The house thing. That's actually why I wanted to. Hold on. Let me finish. I stopped. Waited. We've been talking to Stepdad about it. He's offered to help us with some financial planning, get our credit in better shape, maybe co-sign if we need it. That's nice of him. Yeah, well, he's always been there for us, you know. Something in his tone made my stomach tighten. His wife was looking at her plate, not making eye contact. What's that supposed to mean? My son sighed. Actually sighed, like I was being difficult. Look, Dad, I'm just going to be honest with you because we're all adults here. Okay, we appreciate what you do. We really do. But you're not as good as my stepdad. He buys us better gifts, he takes us better places, he's more generous. I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. And I think it's important for you to hear because what? His wife jumped in. Because we don't want you to feel bad when you see what he does for us versus what you do. We're just being honest, so there's no awkwardness. I sat there for a moment. 40 years of fatherhood, 21 years of divorce and showing up anyway, thousands of dollars in child support, thousands more in college tuition. Every baseball game I could make it to. Every phone call. Every time I told him I loved him and meant it. And I wasn't as good? Because I didn't have as much money. I smiled. I actually felt calm. Eerily calm. You're right, I said. My son blinked. What? You're absolutely right. Your stepfather is more generous with gifts. He makes more money than me. He probably always will. You're correct. My son looked relieved. I'm glad you understand, Dad. I was worried you'd take it the wrong way. No, I get it completely. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the check. Put it on the table. My son's eyes went wide. What is that? This was going to be your house down payment. $40,000. I've been saving for 3 years. His wife grabbed the check, looked at it, and her jaw literally dropped. Oh my God. My son was speechless. But you know what? I picked the check back up from his wife's frozen fingers. You're right. I'm not as good as your stepdad. I tore it in half. Dad, what are you? I tore it again and again. Ask him for the down payment too, since he's so much better. I stood up and dropped the confetti of paper onto the table. Dad, wait, I didn't mean… You said exactly what you meant. You've been saying it for years, actually. I just finally heard it clearly. My son's wife started crying. This isn't fair. You can't just take that back. I can, actually. It was my money, never promised, never given, and now, never will be. I walked out, got in my truck, drove home. My phone started blowing up before I even got there. Update 1. 5 days later. So that happened. I've had some time to process, and I want to address some things before I update you on what's gone down since Sunday. First, I'm not a saint. I know some of you are going to say I should have talked it out, shouldn't have been dramatic, should have handled it differently. Maybe. But 21 years of being the lesser dad builds up. When your kid tells you to your face that you're not as good as someone else because you don't spend as much money on them, something breaks. Second, the $40,000 wasn't a signed contract. It was a gift I was planning to give. Emphasis on planning. No promises were made. They had no idea it existed until I showed them, and then unshowed them. Third, I don't hate my son. I love him. But love doesn't mean being a doormat. Okay, now for what's happened. The phone calls started that Sunday night. First it was my son, then his wife, then, surprise, my ex-wife. My ex and I have been cordial for years. We don't fight, we don't argue, we just coexist as co-parents even though our kid is almost 30. But that night she called me at 10:30 p.m. What did you do? Hello to you too. My son is devastated. His wife is in tears. What is wrong with you? Did they tell you what they said to me? Pause. They said there was a misunderstanding about… A misunderstanding, right? Did they tell you they sat me down to explain that their stepfather is better than me because he gives them more expensive gifts? Longer pause. They didn't say that exactly. Ask them exactly what they said, word for word. Then call me back. She didn't call back that night. But the next day? Oh, the circus really started. My son showed up at my apartment Monday evening. No call, no warning, just showed up. I was making dinner, nothing fancy, just grilled cheese and soup, when I heard the pounding. Opened the door. He looked rough. Red eyes, unshaven, still in what looked like work clothes from that day. We need to talk. You could have called. You're not answering. True. I'd been sending everyone to voicemail. Come in. He sat down at my small kitchen table. Looked around my apartment like he was seeing it for the first time. This is where I've lived for the past 6 years. A modest 2-bedroom in a decent complex. Not fancy, but it's mine. Dad, I need you to understand something. I'm listening. I didn't mean what I said the way it came out. I was trying to manage expectations, so you wouldn't feel bad when you saw what he gives us versus what you can give. Manage expectations. Yes. By telling me I'm not as good as him. I didn't say you're not as good as a person. I meant… What did you mean exactly? He ran his hands through his hair. I meant financially. Obviously. Stepdad makes more money. He can do more things. That's just facts. I wasn't trying to hurt you. Did it occur to you that I've been doing everything I can with what I have for your entire life? I know, Dad. Do you? Do you know I drove a truck with no AC for 3 summers so I could afford your baseball equipment? Do you know I ate ramen for weeks at a time to make sure your child support was never late? Do you know I took out a second loan to help with your college tuition? He went quiet. Your stepfather showed up when you were 10 years old with a big salary and a nice car. I was there from the minute you were born with nothing but my hands and my love for you. And you sit there and tell me I'm not as good because he can write bigger checks? That's exactly what you said. I'm just finally believing you. He started crying then. Actually crying. Part of me wanted to comfort him, but a bigger part of me knew that comfort right now would just teach him that tears fix everything. I need that money, Dad. We can't buy a house without it. I don't even know how we'll afford rent next year when our lease is up. Then ask your stepfather. He's better than me, right? He'll come through. He won't give us $40,000 for a down payment. Why not? He paid for your honeymoon. He paid for most of your wedding. He gives you better gifts. Surely this is just another gift. That's different. How? Because he's already done so much. I can't ask for more. But you can ask me, the father who's not as good? Silence. I think you should leave. He left. But here's what I found out the next day from my ex-wife, who called again, this time actually willing to listen. Apparently, my son and his wife had a ranking they'd developed. I'm not joking. A literal ranking of family members based on contribution to their lives. His stepfather was ranked number 1. His mother was number 2. His wife's parents were number 3. I was number 4. Below his wife's parents, who, and I can't stress this enough, have known him for 3 years. My ex-wife told me this, expecting me to be sympathetic, to understand that my son was just immature. And didn't mean to hurt me. My response? If I'm number 4, then I'll give like I'm number 4, which is nothing. She hung up on me. Update 2. 2 weeks later. Alright, here's where it gets interesting. The first week was mostly what you'd expect. My son bounced between anger and pleading. His wife sent me a long email about how family should support family unconditionally, and how I was punishing them for being honest. I didn't respond. My ex-wife tried to mediate through a family dinner suggestion. I declined. But then, my son went to his stepfather. I know this because my ex-wife told me. She's apparently decided to keep me informed as some sort of neutral reporter, even though she clearly sides with our son. Here's what happened. My son sat down with his stepfather and mother and explained the situation. The down payment, me tearing up the check, the whole thing. According to my ex, he framed it like this. Dad flipped out over nothing, and now we can't buy a house. His stepfather's response was golden. And I mean golden. Why would your biological father be responsible for your down payment? That's a big ask. My son apparently explained that I'd been planning to give it to them. Stepfather. Planning isn't promising. Sounds like he changed his mind. That's his right. My ex said our son was shocked. He expected his stepfather to immediately step up with the money. After all, if I'm not as good as him, shouldn't he be willing to prove it? But here's the thing about performative generosity. It only exists when it's convenient. Honeymoons and fancy dinners are one thing. $40,000 for a house is another. Stepfather said he and my ex would look into helping, but that my son and his wife really need to be more self-sufficient. Turns out the generous stepdad's generosity has limits. Who knew? The next few days, I got texts from my son that evolved in a predictable pattern. Day 1, Dad, can we please talk about this like adults? Day 3, I've been thinking about what you said. I understand I hurt you. Day 5, this isn't fair, you're punishing me over words. Day 7, fine, be like that. I have other people who care about me. I didn't respond to any of them. Then came the family ambush. Last Saturday, I went to my usual diner for breakfast. Nothing special, just eggs and coffee. Been going there for years. The staff knows me. I walked in and there was my son, his wife, my ex-wife, and her husband all sitting in a booth. They'd clearly been waiting. My ex waved me over. We need to talk, all of us. No, we don't. I turned to leave. Dad, please. My son stood up. 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking. The waitress, a woman who's known me for a decade, was watching with wide eyes. I didn't want to make a scene. I sat down. Didn't order anything. Stepfather spoke first. I think there's been a miscommunication here. We all want what's best for the kids. The kids are almost 30, they're adults. You know what I mean. Family. Family doesn't rank each other by financial contribution. My son winced. Dad, that wasn't meant to be. Your mother told me. Number 4. Below your in-laws you've known for 3 years. My ex shot my son a look. He went pale. His wife jumped in. That was taken out of context. It was a joke between us. Private. Private until your husband used it as the basis for telling me I'm not as good as his stepfather. Stepfather held up his hands. Look, I never asked to be compared to you. That's unfair to both of us. Then tell your stepson to stop doing it. I can't control what he says. But you can benefit from it, right? Be the good guy while I'm the inadequate biological father? He didn't have an answer for that. My ex tried a different approach. We all just want to help them buy a house. Can't we put aside the hurt feelings and work together? Work together how? Maybe split the down payment. You give what you can, we give what we can. I already had what I could give, $40,000. Then I was told I'm not as good as the man across from me, so now I'm giving nothing. That's spiteful. That's a consequence. There's a difference. My son slammed his hand on the table. The coffee cups rattled. I apologized. What more do you want from me? When did you apologize? I've been trying to talk to you for 2 weeks. Saying can we talk isn't an apology. Saying this isn't fair isn't an apology. Saying you're punishing me isn't an apology. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I didn't mean what I said. I love you. You're my dad. I looked at him. Really looked. This was my son. The baby I held in the delivery room. The kid I taught to ride a bike. The teenager I stayed up worrying about when he missed curfew. I love you too. But love doesn't mean I owe you money. And it definitely doesn't mean I accept being ranked behind people who give you more stuff. So what? We're done? You're cutting me off because I said something stupid? I'm not cutting you off. I'm just not funding your life anymore. You have a stepfather who's better than me. You have in-laws who rank higher. You have plenty of support. You don't need me. I stood up. Call me when you want a relationship that isn't based on what I can buy you. I left, went home, made myself lunch, watched some TV, my phone stayed quiet. Final update, 6 weeks later. It's been a month and a half since the diner. Time to wrap this up. The silence lasted about 3 weeks. No calls from my son, no texts, nothing. His wife never contacted me again after the ambush. My ex-wife sent one text saying, I hope you're happy, which I ignored. Then I got a phone call from an unexpected source, my sister. She lives a few states away and we talk maybe once a month. She knew about the divorce, knew about my son, but I'd never really burdened her with the details of our complicated relationship. What did you do to your son? Didn't realize word traveled that fast. His wife contacted me on social media, said you've abandoned your grandchild duties. I don't have grandchildren, she's pregnant. That hit me. I'm not going to lie. My son was going to be a father. I was going to be a grandfather. He didn't tell me. Apparently they were planning to announce it at that dinner, before everything blew up. I sat down. Hard. They never said anything about a pregnancy. She said they were going to tell you after the down payment conversation. They figured you'd be more generous if you knew a grandchild was coming. More generous. The money again. Everything always came back to money. So they were timing a pregnancy announcement to maximize their payout. Don't say it like that. That's exactly what it is. My sister sighed. Maybe, but do you really want to miss your grandchild's life over this? I'm not missing anything. I told him to call me when he wants a relationship that isn't based on what I can give him. That offer stands. And if he doesn't call, then I'll know where I really stand. The call ended shortly after. I spent that night staring at the ceiling, thinking about all of it. Here's what I decided. I wasn't going to chase. I wasn't going to beg. If my son wanted me in his life and his child's life, he knew how to reach me. The ball was entirely in his court. 2 weeks after my sister's call, I got an email. From my son. Not a text, not a call, an email. It was long. I'll summarize the key points. He apologized. Actually apologized. Acknowledged that what he said was hurtful and wrong. Said he'd been thinking about our relationship and realized he'd taken me for granted his entire adult life. Said his stepfather had refused to help with the down payment at all. Apparently there was a big argument about it. and that had forced him to reconsider a lot of things. But here's the part that got me. I've been thinking about the camping trips we used to take, the ones I complained about because they weren't Hawaii. I remember you teaching me to fish and build a fire and identify constellations. I remember the s'mores and the terrible dad jokes. I was so focused on comparing what you gave me to what stepdad gave me that I forgot what you actually gave me. Time, attention, yourself. That stuff matters more than plane tickets. It took me way too long to figure that out. He asked if we could meet for coffee. Just the two of us. No wife, no mother, no stepfather. Just him and me. I said yes. We met at a coffee shop near my apartment. He looked thinner than the last time I'd seen him. Stressed. Being a soon-to-be father without the money you were counting on will do that. The conversation was awkward at first. Small talk, weather, his job. Then we got into it. I don't expect the money back, he said. That's not why I'm here. Good, because that ship has sailed. I know, I need you to know that I understand now. What you sacrificed, what you did for me. I was a spoiled kid who grew into a spoiled adult, and I said something unforgivable. It hurt, I know. We sat in silence for a minute. I'm going to be a grandfather, I finally said. He smiled. First genuine smile I'd seen from him in months. Yeah, girl, due in 5 months. Congratulations. Thanks, Dad. More silence. I want you in her life. I want her to know her grandfather. The real one. The one who shows up even when he can't afford fancy gifts. I'd like that. Can we start over? Not the money stuff, just being father and son again? I thought about it, about the years of feeling second best, about the dinner where he ranked me number 4, about the check I tore into confetti. But I also thought about the camping trips, the baseball games, the phone calls. 29 years of being his dad, even when it wasn't easy, even when I felt invisible. We can try. He reached across the table and hugged me. First real hug in years. Not a side hug, not a quick pat, a real hug. We're not fixed. I want to be clear about that. There's damage that doesn't disappear because of one conversation. His wife still hasn't apologized, and I doubt she will. My ex-wife thinks I handled everything wrong. His stepfather apparently considers me unreasonable. But my son and I are talking again. He calls once a week now. Sometimes just to chat about nothing. Yesterday he asked me about wiring. He's trying to fix a light switch in their rental and wanted advice. I walked him through it on the phone. Took about 20 minutes. He got it done. Thanks, Dad. Saved me $100 on an electrician. Anytime. They're not buying a house. Not yet. They're going to rent for a few more years while they save. His stepfather did end up offering $10,000 as a baby gift, which they're putting toward a used car instead since theirs broke down. That's the thing about generous people. They're only generous when it benefits their image. A flashy baby gift? Great photo op. $40,000 for a down payment with no fanfare? Not so much. I didn't give them money for the baby. I built a crib. Spent 3 weekends in my garage, working from plans I found online. Oak wood, hand-sanded, finished with non-toxic stain. It's the nicest piece of furniture I've ever made. Dropped it off last weekend. My son looked at it for a long time. You made this? Yep. It's Dad, this is beautiful. Wasn't expensive. Just took time. He got it. I could see it in his face. He finally got it. His wife didn't say much. Just a quiet thank you. I think she's still mad about the money. That's fine. She can stay mad. I didn't tear up that check to win popularity contests. I tore it up because I finally valued myself enough to refuse being